Hello book friends, my name is Majid. We are starting a new series of books Consciousness in the Cell. Follow us and don't forget to like and subscribe. Such external factors as radiation or replication errors, as the cause of favorable variations, in addition to natural mutation. Today, the model that stands for evolution in the world is Neo-Darwinism. The theory maintains that millions of living beings formed as a result of a process whereby numerous complex organs of these organisms, e.g., ears, eyes, lungs, and wings, underwent mutations, that is, genetic disorders. Yet, there is an outright scientific fact that totally undermines this theory. Mutations do not cause living beings to develop. On the contrary, they are always harmful. The reason for this is very simple. DNA is a very complex structure, and random effects can only harm it. The American geneticist B.G. Ranganathan explains this as follows. First, genuine mutations are very rare in nature. Secondly, most mutations are harmful since they are random, rather than orderly changes in the structure of genes. Any random change in a highly ordered system will be for the worse, not for the better. For example, if an earthquake were to shake a highly ordered structure such as a building, there would be a random change in the framework of the building which, in all probability, would not be an improvement. 9 Not surprisingly, no mutation example, which is useful, that is, which is observed to develop the genetic code, has been observed so far. All mutations have proved to be harmful. It was understood that mutation, which is presented as an evolutionary mechanism, is actually a genetic occurrence that harms living things, and leaves them disabled. The most common effect of mutation on human beings is cancer. Of course, a destructive mechanism cannot be an evolutionary mechanism. Natural selection, on the other hand, can do nothing by itself, as Darwin also accepted. This fact shows us that there is no evolutionary mechanism in nature. Since no evolutionary mechanism exists, no such any imaginary process called evolution could have taken place. The fossil record. No sign of intermediate forms the clearest evidence that the scenario suggested by the theory of evolution did not take place as the fossil record. According to this theory, every living species has sprung from a predecessor. A previously existing species turned into something else over time, and all species have come into being in this way. In other words, this transformation proceeds gradually over millions of years. Had this been the case, numerous intermediary species should have existed and lived within this long transformation period. For instance, some half-fish, half-reptile should have lived in the past which had acquired some reptilian traits in addition to the fish traits they already had. Or there should have existed some reptile birds, which acquired some bird traits in addition to the reptilian traits they already had. Since these would be in a transitional phase, they should be disabled, defective, crippled living beings. Evolutionists refer to these imaginary creatures, which they believe to have lived in the past, as transitional forms. If such animals ever really existed, there should be millions and even billions of them in number and variety. More importantly, the remains of these strange creatures should be present in the fossil record. In The Origin of Species, Darwin explained, "If my theory be true, numberless intermediate varieties, linking most closely all of the species of the same group together must assuredly have existed. Consequently, evidence of their former existence could be found only amongst fossil remains." 10 Darwin's hopes shattered. However, although evolutionists have been making strenuous efforts to find fossils since the middle of the 19th century all over the world, no transitional forms have yet been uncovered. All of the fossils, contrary to the evolutionists' expectations, show that life appeared on Earth all of a sudden and fully formed. One famous British paleontologist, Derek B. Ager, admits this fact, even though he is an evolutionist. The point emerges that if we examine the fossil record in detail, Whether at the level of orders or of species, we find, over and over again, not gradual evolution, but the sudden explosion of one group at the expense of another. 11 This means that in the fossil record, all living species suddenly emerge as fully formed, without any intermediate forms in between. This is just the opposite of Darwin's assumptions. Also, this is very strong evidence that all living things are created. The only explanation of a living species emerging suddenly and complete in every detail without any evolutionary ancestor is that it was created. This fact is admitted also by the widely known evolutionist biologist Douglas Fukushima. Creation and evolution, between them, exhaust the possible explanations for the origin of living things. Organisms either appeared on the Earth fully developed or they did not. If they did not, they must have developed from pre-existing species by some process of modification. If they did appear in a fully developed state, they must indeed have been created by some omnipotent intelligence. 12 Fossils show that living beings emerged fully developed and in a perfect state on the Earth. That means that the origin of species, contrary to Darwin's supposition, is not evolution, but creation. The tale of human evolution, the subject most often brought up by advocates of the theory of evolution, is the subject of the origin of man. The Darwinist claim holds that modern man evolved from ape-like creatures. During this alleged evolutionary process, which is supposed to have started 4 to 5 million years ago, some transitional forms between modern man and his ancestors are supposed to have existed. According to this completely imaginary scenario, 4 basic categories are listed. 1. Australopithecus. 2. Homo habilis. 3. Homo erectus. 4. Homo sapiens. Evolutionists call man's so-called first ape-like ancestors Australopithecus, which means South African ape. These living beings are actually nothing but an old ape species that has become extinct. Extensive research done on various Australopithecus specimens by 2 world-famous anatomists from England and the USA, namely, Lord Solly Zuckerman and Professor Charles Oxnard, shows that these apes belong to an ordinary ape species that became extinct and bore no resemblance to humans. 13 Evolutionists classify the next stage of human evolution as Homo, that is, man. According to their claim, the living beings in the Homo series are more developed than Australopithecus. Evolutionists devise a fanciful evolution scheme by arranging different fossils of these creatures in a particular order. This scheme is imaginary because it has never been proved that there is an evolutionary relation between these different classes. Ernst Mayr, one of the 20th century's most important evolutionists, contends in his book One Long Argument that, particularly historical, puzzles, such as the origin of life or of Homo sapiens, are extremely difficult and may even resist a final, satisfying explanation. 14 By outlining the link chain as Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, evolutionists imply that each of these species is one another's ancestor. However, recent findings of paleoanthropologists have revealed that Australopithecus, Homo habilis, and Homo erectus lived at different parts of the world at the same time. 15 Moreover, a certain segment of humans classified as Homo erectus have lived up until very modern times. Homo sapiens neanderthalensis and Homo sapiens sapiens, modern man, coexisted in the same region. 16 This situation apparently indicates the invalidity of the claim that they are ancestors of one another. Stephen Jay Gould explained this deadlock of the theory of evolution, although he was himself one of the leading advocates of evolution in the 20th century. What has become of our latter if there are 3 coexisting lineages of hominids, A. africanus, the robust Australopithecines, and H. habilis, none clearly derived from another? Moreover, none of the 3 display any evolutionary trends during their tenure on Earth. 17 Put briefly, the scenario of human evolution, which is upheld, with the help of various drawings of some half-ape, half-human creatures appearing in the media and course books, that is, frankly, by means of propaganda, is nothing but a tale with no scientific foundation. Lord Solly Zuckerman, one of the most famous and respected scientists in the UK, who carried out research on this subject for. Thank you for following. Wait for us in a new part. Bye.